Hello, I'm Robin Guyton.
And I'm Robert Guyton, and this is our Riverton Forest Garden. We'd like to welcome you to come in and have a look around with us. It's autumn in the forest garden, and that means harvest time for us. There are lots of paths we'd like to take you down and lots of plants we'd like to show you. Let's start over here. This fruit is a medlar. You can see it's not ripe yet, but it'll take a few weeks. But look, it's got blossom at the same time. That's so strange to have.
Yeah, another one up there, another blossom up there too.
These cardoons, it's quite nice to have this late feed for the bees when a lot of the other flowers are finished. So these cardoon flowers, the thistle family flowers that are autumn flowering, they provide pollen and nectar for the honeybees. Here we've got Jerusalem artichokes, which is another example of a plant that's a perennial. And you only need to plant it once, and it's got a food crop, which is the tuber underneath the ground. It's always there, it stores well under the ground, so we don't have to harvest. Even though it's a modest little thing, this flower, this artichoke, Jerusalem artichoke flower, you can see that it's going to be a sunflower-like flower. They don't often flower down here in Southland, but because this has been such a long season, it looks as though we're going to get the very rare flowering of the Jerusalem artichoke. It's encouraging. It means that there are some other crops that will do well. Maybe our figs will ripen this year. Maybe we'll get loquats ripe. Who knows?
Lovely, here you can see the grapevine winding up through the cabbage tree. It's really lovely to see that, and it's nice that the native trees and the edible things can mix together so nicely. They both need different things, so they can be quite close together. They have different things they bring out of the soil, different things they put back in.
So this is the cow parsley with its ferny leaf. It's one of the umbelliferous or Apiaceae family with those lovely little open flowers that hoverflies and ichneumanoid wasps can easily access.
The flower of the plant, I used to like, the old name was called umbelliferous. It looks like an umbrella, and we've got probably 20 types of these type of plants in our forest garden.
This is the buddleia, and it's not flowering presently. It's autumn now and it flowers earlier, but when it does flower, it's a tremendous magnet to butterflies such as the yellow and red admirals and the monarch butterfly. So I've planted them everywhere, hoping to bring more and more and more butterflies into our garden.
So this one here is a rokewood. It was actually brought over by Captain Howell, the first settler to Riverton from Australia. So it's an Australian heritage one from 1840. There's a lovely eating apple, and it's ready to eat now.
So they'll be finding that, and also cleaning up some fruit. So in behind this net here, and this net's there for a purpose, and that is to keep the blackbirds off the ripe fruit. We have a Kentish fillbasket tree, and it's covered in apples. It's called Kentish fillbasket for a reason, and that is that it's so productive, and the apples are quite large. It would very quickly fill your basket. So just reaching into the netting there if we can. I'll pick one of those apples out.
I've got one already. Yeah, very big.
These are lovely big fruits. Though the Kentish fillbasket isn't my favourite apple taste-wise, but it certainly it produces a lot of apple. And I'm not sure, Rob, is this a cooking apple or an eating apple?
Both, you can cook and eat it.
A lot of the apples we have are multi-purpose. They're for eating and cooking, also for cider making. So having a taste of this one, I will soon tell you whether it's a good one or not. Tangy. This plant with the enormous leaves is a gunnera or Chilean rhubarb, and it's a good example of a plant that's overlooked by people who like to grow food plants. In actual fact, you can eat gunnera, and not the leaves in the same way that you wouldn't eat rhubarb leaves, but it's the stalks that you eat. You have to peel them first with a knife, slice them up into discs. They're beautiful looking things. They look like a dark watermelon flesh and dip those in salt and eat them raw. That's what the Chilean people do, and I can tell you it's really very nice. This cob oven, which is made from clay and sand and straw, is a good example of appropriate technologies that we focus on here in the garden. We were able to make it from bricks that we'd found on other sites, but everything else came from here. Well, the slates off the roof also came from an old building. But the clay we found here, the straw, we were able to use our own straw, and together, using those materials, we were able to build a very simple oven that works by burning twigs and branches that we gather from our own forest, and in it we can make bread, scones, pizza quite quickly. Most people would clear away these dried stalks once they've finished doing their job, that is producing these seeds here. But I like to leave them because I think they're habitat for insects. Even in this dried state, there'll be something that overnights in here perhaps, or alights on here on their way to somewhere else. It's a bit like the old dying or dead trees in a forest system. People want to cut them down to keep the forest tidy, but in actual fact you'll have things like owls and whatever, birds, insects, beetles, all sorts of things living in there. So if we keep chopping everything down just because we don't like old or spent plants, I think it's a big mistake. So this is one of the many crab apples that we've got growing on the property, grown from seed. You can grow crab apples from the seed of any apple really. This one's particularly nice, a beautiful crimson colour, and it makes the loveliest apple jelly you can imagine. The colour of the skins comes through into the jelly. So the crab apple is very attractive and very productive. It's also edible, but you have to have you don't have to have a sweet tooth to like these. They're quite tart, quite not bitter, but they certainly make you pucker up a little bit when you bite them. Actually, that's very nice.
Really, it only took us 15 years from being bare land to this lovely forest garden.
I would recommend that everybody tries to live a life somewhat like this, in an environment like this that you can create for yourself. I think that not only is it good for humans like ourselves to live in a peaceful, fruitful environment like this, but it's very good for the wider environment itself. We can create and have biodiversity in here that's missing from the outside world. Anybody can do this, and you can do it on a shoestring. It doesn't cost a lot of money if you learn to do everything yourself, and that's what we've tried to do.